Hello everyone to a very special live Q&A session today with me, Matt Stead. So every Wednesday I generally do a live ukulele lesson for you guys on a particular subject or a particular piece of music. But this week we're going to do something completely different, and this was requested by several of my students. It's not my idea, so I'm not taking the blame. I'm going to talk you through my ukulele collection. Now, it'd be boring if I literally just sat here and showed you one ukulele after another. So what I've done is I've asked people in advance to send me their questions to do with ukuleles. And this is like ukulele hardware. So types of ukulele, different words, strings, buying, all sorts of stuff like that. So we're going to chat all the hardware today, basically, on ukuleles. And the way we're going to do it is I'm going to take some questions that have already been asked, and I'm also going to talk you through my collection uke by uke, talking a little bit about it as we go. And I'll probably mix it up. I'll probably do a few of each one at a time, so it's a bit more interesting. But if you've got any questions today and you haven't already sent them in, that's totally cool as well. Put them in the live chat, ask in the comments, and hi Pam, hi Angela, hi Sylvia, hi Wayne, hi Karen. And what I'll do is I'll answer them as they come up, basically. So anything that you can think of ukulele related, give me a shout here and I will do my best to answer. And I'm also, at some point, possibly towards the end, I'm going to bring on some of your ukulele collections. So some of the Facebook group sent me pictures of their ukulele collections, and I'll bring them on to kind of whet your appetite. My only worry about today is it might stoke UAS, ukulele acquisition syndrome. And you'll learn from me that even though I've been playing for 25 years and I've tried virtually every ukulele going, I still have it. So it's not going to help, but it'll be fun. Fruit smoothie and an English muffin. Nice. So just before we get started, just a couple of things to let you know about. The next live lesson in 2 weeks' time, we are going to have one. It's the week before Christmas, so it's going to be super exciting. We've got our Christmas special. So we're going to do a beautiful Christmas carol that takes me back to my childhood. This always makes me think of sat on a parquet floor in primary school singing Christmas carols. We're going to have like a Away in a Manger. It's a really, really beautiful, simple melody. And we're going to look at 2 different ways to turn it into a fingerstyle chord melody, which is going to be great. Hi, Rima. Glad you could join us. Good to see you. So that's going to be 2 weeks this Wednesday. Also to let you know that the Beatles on Uke course is carrying on. So we've got a chord melody version of And I Love Her, which you can learn. And I've just finished recording a lovely strummed version of Here, There and Everywhere. A full tutorial. Paul McCartney's Here, There and Everywhere. Beautiful melody, beautiful piece of music. That's probably going to be early next week or late this week. That one will be up. So that will be here in a little while. I didn't even know there were 2 versions of Away in the Manger. I have no idea. I only knew it as one, but it's the one that goes, away in a manger, a crib for a bed. That one. The little Lord Jesus lay down his sweet head. Something like that, isn't it? That's the one that I've worked out anyway. In fact, it looks like this, because I've got it on my computer. There you go. So we're going to do 2 different chord melody versions of that. It's going to be really lovely. If you're just starting out on fingerstyle, it's going to be a really nice, sweet version, which would be lovely. Okay, let's crack on then. So I think what I'll do is I'll show you a couple of ukes to get going. So I started learning ukulele 20 to 25 years ago. It was 1997 I got my first uke. That's nearly 30 years, isn't it? Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. And I used to play in an indie band, and at the time we were kind of travelling all around the place, and I got really fed up of carrying a big massive acoustic guitar around with me. So I bought myself a little tiny red Mahalo soprano. We've probably all had those at some point. You know, the very colourful Mahalos. I still own it, but I keep it at the uke room and I forgot to bring it over. That was my very first ukulele. I've owned probably over 300 ukuleles over the course of those years. I had ukulele acquisition syndrome bad, and I wanted to try everything. All the different sizes, all the different woods, all the different brands, and I bought and I sold them. It's kind of why I ended up having a ukulele shop, basically because I needed to get rid of a load of them. My students started asking for them, so I started selling them. Very early on, I had a lot of of the basic Kala models and the basic Lanakai models, so the KAS, KAC, KAT, and then their equivalent in Lanakai. And then I started to get a little bit more serious about ukuleles. And some of my favourite early ukuleles were made by a brand called Mainland. They're an American company run by a guy called Mike Hayter, who is a really, really lovely guy, and his wife. And they import them from the Far East, but they set them up by hand in America, and then they ship them out. They're relatively inexpensive, but they're super, super lovely. So this one was almost like my first proper ukulele. It's a red cedar Mainland, and then I think it's rosewood. Yeah, rosewood back and sides. Interestingly, I own this ukulele, and then I sold it to one of my students, Sally, and then she sold it about 10 years later, and I bought it back. It might not have been 10 years, I can't quite remember. But it has a lovely strident tone and loads of volume. Cedar's a really warm, powerful, punchy wood. So this was like my first proper uke. You see it's got scratches all over it if I hold it in the right light and everything. But I love it. And I often say if there are people kind of starting out beginners to intermediate and they're after a uke, Mainland is a really good one to try. And the proof is in the pudding, right? I've got loads of kind of super fancy custom ukuleles, super expensive ones, but I still play my Mainland ukuleles, so they must be decent quality. Intonation is good at the fretboard. Really, really lovely ukes. So that was kind of like my first proper uke, if you like. And I've got really small fingers, so I used to play a lot of sopranos and concerts. That's kind of what I started out on. And I also have a Mainland pineapple. So pineapple ukes have, I know this is really cliche, but pineapple ukes have a sweet round tone. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But they do. They have kind of a warm tone to them, which is really nice. And this one has a concert scale, so it's got a little bit more room on the fingerboard, this one. And again, I still play this all the time. And the other nice thing about it is I'm kind of not scared about dinging it or scratching it. Some of my really expensive ukes, these go from about, I think their cheapest range is $100, and then they go up to about $400 as the most expensive. And they've got a few marks on them. All ukes should have a couple of marks. Oh, look at that sapwood on the back. Isn't that lovely? That's like the heartwood in rosewood, the kind of sapwood in the centre of the tree. It's really, really pretty. So Mainland are a really good company if you're interested in kind of starting out on uke or you're intermediate, or if you've been playing a while. I think they're fantastic. And they generally come with this lovely rope binding, which is really nice as well. So, it's a new brand to Karen. Cool. They're really cool. Back in the day, I guess they kind of you get ukes going in and out of fashion. Probably about 10-15 years ago on Ukulele Underground and places like that, Mainland were kind of all the rage. They're still going now though, and still fantastic ukes. This is a good question. Karen's asked if I find the ukulele pineapple awkward to hold. Not especially. I do hear people say they're kind of difficult to hold because they're rounded and they can move away. But the thing is, that figure of 8 ukulele shape, it only stays put if you're holding it kind of using the waist of the uke on your knee. And you know, the way I teach, I much prefer my students, see if I can tip this down, to rest their ukes on their thigh like this. So I find with the pineapple, it's no different to any other uke because that lower bout will just sit in my lap like so, and then I've got that nice 45-degree angle to play upwards. So I find, yeah, no, I never had a problem with the pineapple. And of course you could always get a strap pin fitted and put a strap on as well. That's absolutely fine. I always say to students, if they find it more comfortable to play with a strap, that's all good and absolutely a fine thing to do and a good thing to do. Kev's just said, it feels like he's admitting to his UAS addiction by being here today. it's like a self-help meeting. We're all here to support each other, Kev. It's all good. You'll see by the end of today that I have UAS bad. Do you know what? I kind of always say to people I've only got 5 main ukes, and they're kind of like my main ukes. And then when I was pulling all these ukuleles up to my office upstairs to show you, it was like, oh my gosh, another one and another one. What is it like? Wayne's asking if I got any experience with the Canalea Pineapple Koa tenor. Do you know what? I've owned one, Wayne. You won't be surprised to know. We had one in the shop and I loved it so much that I took it home and kept it for a couple of years. I sold it for no other reason than I wanted to try something else. The Canalea Koa tenors are fantastic ukes because you've got that depth from having that tenor scale which has loads of sustain and a really nice kind of volume from it. But the big sound board on the top being circular or pineapple shape, it has even more resonance than a standard figure of 8. Slightly less focus. If you were arguing negatives about pineapples, some people would say they sound a bit soft. They don't quite have the same focus as a figure of 8 shape. But no, I absolutely adored my Canalea pineapple, and I would really recommend them. They're absolutely fantastic ukes. I had in the shop a few years ago one of their platinum ones that they introduce each year as a special, and one year they did a pineapple version of that and it was absolutely lovely. A nice 1.5-inch nut on the Canaleas as well, which is super nice. I should say as well that all of this is just my own personal opinion. I no longer own a ukulele shop. I'm not affiliated with any brand, so anything that comes up today is my own opinion, just in case. Hi Linda, you got in from your choir Christmas concert. How did it go? Let us all know. I hope you're feeling super Christmassy. You're going to be even more Christmassy next week. It's going to be great. Glad that you're back, Rebecca. I think we're okay. It all seems to be stable on my end, but yeah, good to have you back. That awkward question applies to the Romero tenor too. I'd love one, but thinking it might feel weird in my arms. I have heard people say the Romero ones can feel a little bit different because they're almost triangular shaped rather than pineapple shaped. The corner is a little bit sharper on your knee, so they're a little bit more liable to kind of squirm out of your lap. But they're brilliant sounding ukes. Samantha Muir, who's playing our Christmas retreat next week, she often plays with one of them, and it's an absolutely fantastic one. And again, you could always put a ukulele strap pin on the end, or if it's got a pickup, it will have a strap peg, and you can use it like that. So yeah, all good. Good, says Linda. Good. I tell you what, I think, let me show you another one of my ukes. Are lefty ukes easy to find? That's a really good question, David. So generally it is a bit harder to get specifically left-handed ukes because manufacturers just know that there's many more right-handers than left-handers, so they don't come up very often. If the nut slots are relatively kind of uniform, so there's not a big fat one for say a low G, you can generally just swap the strings out over and you'll be absolutely fine anyway. So just bear in mind things like sound holes might be on the wrong side, but you can swap them over. But it is yeah, tis definitely harder, unfortunately. Hi David. Yeah, they can be. Yeah, they can squirm away a bit, can't they, Linda? I know what you mean. Yeah. Rebecca's got a good question. Can I explain nut width and how it affects tiny or arthritic hands? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think one of my questions was this. Let me bring in this question that we had from Pam Rhodes on Facebook. I'll bring it in and then I should be able to bring it over. It's not going to show the whole thing, so I'll just read it out, don't worry. So it comes back to Rebecca's question. Pam's question was, I'm currently saving to buy a tenor uke. My hands are small. I have arthritis in the base of the left thumb. Regularly practice a range of chord shapes. It's helped me stretch my reach on my fretting hand. It's been suggested that I look at Flight brand of ukuleles, as these are narrower on the neck and fretboard. Any advice? So this is a really, really awkward one, purely because there's lots of things that affect the ease of playing in the ukulele. Some people who are arthritic don't necessarily find a narrower nut more comfortable, because you have to squish your fingers in, and if anything it can kind of force them into slightly more unnatural positions. So I wouldn't necessarily go for a narrower nut per se. If you do find you definitely want a narrow nut, Flight ukuleles generally have a narrow nut. Kala also have a narrower nut, and Pono ukuleles have a relatively narrow nut as well. The main thing that really affects the playability, well, there's a couple of things. The most important is the action, so the height of the strings off the fretboard. So if the strings are super high, like if they were up here for instance, it's going to take more pressure to push down. So what you want to do is try and make sure you buy your ukulele from a reputable shop, somewhere like World of Ukes, Southern Ukulele Store. If you're in the States, you've got Mims Ukes, Uke Republic, the ukulele site are all fantastic shops, and there are many others. These are just ones that come to my mind. All of those will set up your uke to try and get that string to a height that you like. So buy a uke from, say, Matt at World of Ukes, and just say, I'd like that action as low as it will go comfortably without buzzing. It's nice to get an expert to do it, because it's less likely that they're gonna kind of run into any problems. You could go too low if you did it yourself, and then you've got to shim it and all sorts, but the experts will know how low they can get it. Also, and I'm going to talk about strings in a lot more detail in a minute, try and look into getting some low tension strings. Uke Logic do a set called Uke Logic Pink Low Tension. They're very good. Worth Clear Lights are another fantastic low tension string, and that I think has more effect than the nut width in terms of playing with arthritis. One other last thing, think about the shape of the neck as well. A lot of people concentrate on the nut width this way, which can be important. But see if you can try a few ukes. You could always go to a uke club or a festival and try a few out, or if you can visit a uke shop. Because some ukuleles have a thick neck this way. Some of them are a little bit like a baseball bat. They feel really chunky in your hands. Whereas other ones have a really slim neck. And different people find different neck widths comfortable. So it's worth trying that out as well. Really, really important when you're buying your first few ukes. Absolutely. Kevin was asking, is there a correlation between the width of the fingerboards and length of one's fingers? I could kind of see it, Kevin, but generally I think even those with small hands, because it's such a narrow instrument, I don't think there's a problem even with having the wider neck. I have particularly small hands, very, very much smaller hands than average in terms of ukulele playing, and I actually quite like a wider nut, because it means when I'm doing those stretchy chords, or there's, you know, like a diminished seven where it's really crushed up, it gives me that bit more room. So I would say more think about the string action, the string type, and a few other things. So don't get too worried about nut width. Best thing is to try a few though. One of the things that I found, because when I started ukes I just wanted to try everything, I started ordering custom ukes, and a couple of my custom ukes that I ordered do have a nut width that I find too narrow for me. And since then, I've built up the experience. I've worked out a nut width that suits me, which is airing towards 1.5. So just be careful if you're going to spend a lot of money on one of your ukes. See if you can try a few first and see what works for you. So yeah, maybe ask Paul McCartney where he got his. I think Paul McCartney got his. He's got a lovely Gibson that was given to him by George Harrison. Man, that ukulele must be worth a few pounds, mustn't it? And Paul is what a great player, by the way. They're not necessarily all 4 strings, David. So generally, ukes are tuned G, C, E, A. And with the highest 2 strings are on the outside on a uke and lowest 2 on the inside. But you can get 8 strings where the courses are doubled up a bit like a mandolin. You can get 5 strings for a bit more jangliness. I've got one of those, which I'll show you guys in a minute. So Karen saying tapestry music in White Rock, BC, Canada. There you go. Word of mouth. That's the best way to learn. So fantastic. Hi Esther, good to see you. Good to see you. This is good fun, isn't it? I'm loving this. I could talk uke all day. So yeah. The other thing to think about, coming back to Kevin's question here, is have a think about a radius fretboard. I'll show you on a couple of my ukes in a minute. Most ukulele fretboards are completely flat like this, so they're just flat all the way across. Other ukuleles are radius, so if I really exaggerated it, imagine the ukulele fretboard is curved like your finger. So when you're doing bar chords, it matches the curve of your finger and it makes it really comfortable to play. Some people swear by radius fretboards. I play both flat and radius, but it's something to think about for sure. So yeah, good stuff, Pam. You can always watch it back as well. But if I forget to cover anything as well, or anyone's got any other questions that I don't cover, do give me a shout afterwards and I'll do my best to answer them as well. Okay, should we go on for some new ukes? I'll show you my first ever proper custom uke that I have made for me. And this one's one of my pride of joys. This one will come with me to my grave, or it will get passed on to my kids. And this was made by a guy in California called Jake McClay. And he has the moniker Hive Ukuleles, like the honeybee. In fact, his ukuleles are named after types of flying insects. So we've got the hive, hornet, which this one is, and he does a honeybee as well, which is slightly smaller. No worries, David. Anytime, anytime. Hi, Angela. Hi, Lisa. We're all good. All good. We're enjoying nerding out over ukuleles. So this one was made by Jake McClay, and what I love about Jake's work is he's a meticulous maker. So everything is just done to perfection. He learnt with Rick Turner of Compass Rose guitars and ukuleles. Rick Turner's made guitars for people like Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, brilliant builder. And Jake was influenced by Japanese builders. And look at the detailing on the mitre there. You've got that lovely kind of black and white and gold there, and even on the inside, the attention to detail, he has these laminated strips in black and white. It looks like a work of art even on the inside, which I really love. This one has a sound hole as well, so when I'm teaching, it helps the sound to come back towards me as well as going out. And it has what I'd almost describe as kind of a piano-like tone. So this one, yeah, it's a hornet, and this was my first custom uke. So I asked for these specific uke woods. And one of the fun things about getting a custom uke being made for you, you can specify the nut width, sometimes the shape of the neck. You can choose your woods and all sorts of things like that. And Jake picked out this crazy bird's eye maple. Isn't that mad? He said it's the most crazy bird's eye maple he'd ever seen with like all those little bird's eyes. Maple generally people think of as a bright wood, but when Jake uses it, he gives it a real depth, which is lovely, and almost like piano-like tone. And then it has this lovely flamed maple on the neck, so loads of maple, and then a red spruce top on this one. So this is my Hive ukulele. They're all called Hive Zester. Hive is his brand, but the two models are the Honeybee, which is smaller. It has a narrower waist and doesn't have the big bout down here. I guess more traditional figure of eight shape. And the Hornet, which is the one that I've got. And you've got, because you've got one of these. Esther's got a few of my old ukes, haven't you, Esther? So I've sold quite a few ukes over the years. And loads of my... loads of my students have them. So yeah, this was my first kind of proper uke, my first custom ukulele by Jake McClay, and it kind of really sings when you do fingers style. Which is why I love it. The only thing that I would change about this is I had Jake put quite a narrow nut on it, and generally as I've played over the years I've erred towards a slightly wider nut, so let that be a lesson. Really think about things like nut width when you are getting your ukes made. And notice he's even scalloped the nut to make it lighter. Everything about this ukulele is super light. So that's my Hive ukulele. I'll pop it back in its case. Best thing to do, and I've learnt this the hard way, especially when playing concerts, as soon as you finish with a ukulele, stick it back in the case, because I've had so many damaged over the years. I played a WI once at a Women's Institute, and I did a talk on the history of ukuleles, and a lady came at me after I finished like a bowling ball and knocked over about 5 of my ukuleles, and I nearly cried. One of my other earliest ukes was this one. Which is a little Martin. And Martin, they get a little bit of a bad rep nowadays because people say their ukes are quite overbuilt and heavy. But I actually love their sopranos, the modern-made sopranos. They went through a period of using plastic tuners, which I didn't like very much. So if you are interested, see if you can get the ones with the original friction pegs on, because they're a little bit better. And this is kind of for that old time. For that kind of old time music, this one just really sings, which is lovely. So this is a solid mahogany one. The other problem that Martin had, and they had this with their guitars for a few years, they've used better materials now, so it doesn't happen. But a lot of Martin ukuleles that were made in Nazareth, the binding shrank and came away a little bit. And I don't know if you can see it. If I get it in a certain light, you can see where this binding had to be glued back in place, so it's not perfectly neat. And it happened on a lot of their guitars. The binding came away on the guitars as well, which is such a shame for such a beautiful instrument. So if you're getting one of these second hand, do look for that. Ask the buyer, does it have any binding issues? Because it can be a little bit frustrated. You can see there with the shine of where the glue was put on. But this was another one of my early ukes that I absolutely fell in love with. I love Martin ukes. I've got a vintage one as well, which is super sweet. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I pretty much only play Martin guitars and Phil Davidson guitars. They're my favourite types of guitars as well. So yes, it's all good, don't worry. There's a few of you out there. Wayne's asking, on the subject of arthritis, do I prefer a C or a D neck shape? For me, Wayne, I really like a C-shaped neck. I do. I've got a couple of Maiamoe. I know you've got Maiamoes as well, Wayne. I've got a couple that have a D-shaped neck, but it's a soft D, and I don't find it too uncomfortable. But generally, I prefer that C-shaped neck, which just seems to match the curve of my hand. But again, I think with a lot of this stuff, you really need to Really need to try a few things and see what works for you. That's really, really important. Yeah, that's exactly right, Joe. The Mexican-made ones were fine. It was only the Nazareth-made ones. It was the binding. It was a particular batch of binding that they had, which always shrank. I think it's called bolt iron. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it was a particular type of binding that Martin had, and it unfortunately it shrank. So yeah, they've had a few problems with those over the years. Let's bring in another question from Sylvia Panafino. Let's bring this in. See whether it's short enough to add in here. Yeah, it is. There we go. I can bring it on screen. So Sylvia asks, are there any particular ukuleles that I prefer for a particular style of music or playing style? What size and wood do you prefer then? Yesterday you played a small vintage Martin soprano for old-time music for Canacapilla. And yes, absolutely. I kind of think of like ukuleles as tools for different trades. So I really like, if I'm playing fingerstyle ukulele and I want a nice long sustain, I want those notes to ring out, and I'm playing kind of legato style, which is how I play a lot of my instrumental music, I almost always go for a tenor ukulele with fairly high tension strings. If I'm just doing a general strum, so things like Canacapilla, where I just want to kind of strum, then I kind of err towards a concert size, because I find concert size ukuleles, they're like the perfect in-between uke for when you just want to strum, because they're not quite as choppy as a soprano, but they don't have that overly high string tension which you can get from tenors, and they just sound lush when strummed. For strumming as well and that kind of thing, I really like a soft top. So cedar and spruce are my favourite two tops on ukuleles. I think they've been used in guitar making for hundreds of years for good reason, and I think they work really well. So kind of just general strumming, and then fingerstyle I like to use concerts and tenors. If I want to do some kind of old time music, I will tend to use a soprano uke, because it does have that kind of choppier sound. And ideally, I like my soprano ukes. I won't grab one now, I'll show you in a minute. Ideally, I like my soprano ukes when I'm playing old time music to be made out of all one wood, so like all koa or all mahogany. Mahogany is slightly warmer. Koa is slightly lighter and slightly brighter sounding, and that just works for that kind of old time, kind of George Formby, old time music, blues. I love that kind of thing. So if I know I'm going to do like old time songs or Roy Smeck type stuff, I really love a soprano. So where's that Martin gone? So things like you know, like that Roy Smeck who does like Magic Ukulele Waltz kind of. I forget how it goes now, but that kind of stuff, I really like that. And kind of choppy, that kind of choppy style of playing. I think little sopranos made out of mahogany work really well. The classic for that is vintage Martins. If you can get a vintage Martin made out of solid mahogany, they sound really sweet. So yeah, absolutely. Depending on what type of music I make, I'll use different ukuleles. And it's kind of part of the reason I love having a variety of ukuleles, basically. So let's have a look. We've had a few questions come up here, so let's just double check. Yeah, Wayne saying the D shape helps. That would be why you're a big fan of my Moe, Wayne. That makes sense. Yeah, that's brilliant. You kind of have to find your own. I have played a Cynthia Lynn Ohana ukulele, and it was really nice, Victor. Yeah, those are really nicely made. I think, if I'm right, Ohana ukes are made in the same factory that make my mainlands. I'm pretty sure it's the same factory that make them. Their redwood ukes especially, if you can get hold of one of their redwood ukuleles by Ohana, they're really nice. One of my students had a redwood top with rosewood back and sides by Ohana, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Karen was asking, so high tension strings are better for fingerstyle. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute with when we come on to the next bit. But generally, if I'm playing fingerstyle, I will go for a higher tension string, because I find then the sustain is longer. So when you're doing those lovely kind of, I'll show you on the next uke, kind of legato style playing, it just rings out really lovely and really kind of beautifully. Linda's just asking, can I explain the C or D shape ukulele necks? Yeah, absolutely, Linda. So it's all to do with the neck profile. So C-shaped ukes, imagine like a kind of a C, can't get it right, like C like that, okay? So C-shaped ukulele necks tend to be quite deep and a little bit narrower. Kind of think about the thin end of a baseball bat. They look like that. So if you have a look at my Hive, can you see how rounded that neck is? If I hold it this way, I think you can probably see. In fact, you can see it in the striping, can't you? So there's no kind of flat bit here. It just curves all the way around in a C shape. So that kind of can feel quite comfortable in the palm of your hand. Whereas other ukes, let me show you another one of mine. They can sometimes have more of a D-shaped profile, and my Moe ukes always had a bit of a D-shaped profile. This was made by Aaron at Beansprout. Now, I don't know how well you can see this. Let's have a look. But it's a little bit flatter here. There's almost like a flat bit on the ukulele, so it's not perfectly curved all the way around. It's purposefully that way. So we call that D shape. I guess it would be more, if that's a C shape, a D shape a bit more like that. It's flatter on the back. And a lot of people find that really comfortable because they can place their thumb on the flat bit, and that works really well when they're playing. This is another of my custom ukes. This one was made by Aaron Kimes. Some of you met him this summer at the ukulele retreat. He was one of our teachers. He's a brilliant old-time ukulele player, plays banjo and all sorts of other instruments as well. And this one was his 500th ukulele. So he's been building for many years, and he numbers his instruments. And this one, in fact, there we go, it's stamped on the end there. It's number 500. It was his 500th ever made. It's really open sounding, really warm, which I really love. I find Aaron's ukes work really well if you play quite gently, because they have a real kind of gentle warmth to them, which I like. This one's got an English walnut back and sides, which is again another warm wood, and then a redwood top. The only problem with some redwood tops is they're very soft. Softer tops like spruce and redwood and cedar, they produce a more lush tone. And redwoods are the warmest of those tones because they're the softest wood. The only trouble is, if you play aggressively with redwood tops, they start to wear through quite quickly, and there's a little bit of wear up here. And that's the reason why Aaron's made this really cool but crazy pick guard here. So when I'm strumming, my long nails, they can scratch against this hardwood here and not damage the uke. And I love how he's kind of made a little mosaic on the top there to match. And again, I love that attention to detail. There's a little bit of the mosaic on the back there as well. He used to make ukuleles with Maya Moe, Gordon and Shah over in the States, and he's since got his own brand, Beansprout ukuleles, which I really love. And this one's really special because when he made it, his son Henry, who came over to the retreat, made a shaker out of the same woods to go with it, which is really cool. So this is a really precious one to me. So hopefully that helps explain that, Linda, the difference between C and D necks. And really, the only way to know for sure is to play a few. Get really comfortable with a few. Go to a uke shop if you can. I don't know if you saw Nikki Campbell, the radio DJ, was up at Matt's World of Ukes last week trying a load of ukes. He went away with a Oh, what was it? It was a Kawaya uke, I think. A lovely tenor. Kevin's asked, have you ever come across a uke with a neck that has a deep groove running down the back of the neck? Do you mean kind of like a V shape, Kevin? That's common in guitars, but not so much ukuleles. It's not something that I've come across. So yeah. Esther saying you're all going to come with me to say goodnight to the chickens. Night night, Snowball. No worries, Karen. Good to have you here. Rebecca's saying, where can we go to try some variety of ukuleles? Let me know where you are, Rebecca. I can't remember exactly where you are in the States. If I can't think of any now, I'll email you afterwards. But there are some great shops in the States. Uke Republic, they're based, I think they're based in Florida. They have a really big showroom of ukuleles. There's also, who else is there in the States? Ukulele Site, but they're based in Hawaii. Griffin Stringed Instruments are very good. I'll have a think, but if you can let us know exactly where you are, I'll ask around, because sometimes the best thing to do is to find to ask around and see if there's a store near you. But it's always the best thing to do is to try before you can buy. Sometimes you do have to kind of yeah, that's it. Or Tiny Bubbles, a ukulele lady. That stuff sounds great on soprano. Exactly right, Victor. Yeah, sometimes you do have to travel quite a way, but sometimes you do have to just try them online. You can usually resell them on, like I've always done anyway. So it's not the end of the world. Yeah, I'm not sure about that groove on the neck, Kevin. I'll have a think. Esther said, I've never tried a uke before buying. I've trusted Matt completely. You fool! No, I'm joking, Esther. But you know that I picked the nice ones, so you're right with with those. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes you just don't live near a uke shop and you've got to trust the internet. If you are buying online, try and trust a well-known and respected dealer. Try and avoid kind of the big stores like Guitar Centre. They only tend to care about their bottom line, and a lot of them drop ship ukuleles. So they won't set up your uke, they won't touch the string action, they won't file down any sharp frets. Setups are really important on ukuleles. They set the string action, how high it is. I used to do this in my shop, and I know Matt Warnes does it up at World of Ukes. I believe they do it in Southern Ukes as well with Alex Beds. If there's sharp frets, they'll actually file them down and polish them, and any high frets as well. And they'll look for any damage, all sorts of things. Really important in setting up your ukulele. Sometimes they'll even put your favourite type of strings on and put strap peg on. That's really important. When you drop ship from places like Thomann or Guitar Centre, or trying to think of the ones we've got over here, PMT, places like that, a lot of them, they won't look at the ukulele. It will come in a box from the factory, and they will take that box and I'll ship it to you, and it hasn't been touched. So really try and go for a trusted one if you can. So in terms of online in the States, certainly I would always go Mims, absolutely fantastic person, wonderful setups. You've got Mike Jim at Uke Republic, brilliant. Andrew and all the guys and gals at the ukulele site in Hawaii, absolutely fantastic. Long McQuaid in Canada are very, very good. So there's all sorts. Sport for choice nowadays. Back in the days, it was a real kind of a bit of a pump when you bought a uke. But a lower ukes near Chicago. Yeah, good call, Joe. Good call. Absolutely. Yeah, have a look at review sites. Barry Maz, he's done so many reviews, hasn't he, over the years? It's absolutely amazing. Colorado. Let me have a think, Rebecca. I'll have a think. If anyone else has an idea, get back to Rebecca and let her know. Benjamin, no, I haven't spoken about tuning machines yet. That's a really good point, actually. So lots of different ukes come with different tuning pegs. I'll show you my next uke as well. This one came to me. This was made by a guy called Bo Hannum on mainland America. but he finished it when I was in Hawaii. And rather than ship it back to England all the way from the States, he shipped it to my hotel in Hawaii. So you know that picture that I use, it's down there in the bottom left corner, the picture that I use for all my branding and stuff, that was taken on the veranda of the hotel that we were staying at in Hawaii. And, oh, I've got the wrong case. And this was a uke that that Bo shipped out to me. This is one of my most special ukes that I have made. This one's Bo Hannum. I love his handwritten thing. You know how I said how I like redwood in the ukulele that Aaron made me? Well, this one has a redwood top as well. Bo Hannum's ukes are like cannons. They're so powerful. They push the sound out. Because what he does is he laminates the sides on purpose. And a lot of people think laminate ukes are cheap ukes because they're using layers of wood rather than solid wood. But lamination is used by some of the best builders in the world to build stiffness into the sides. So it's all solid wood, all solid on the top, all solid on the back. And solid wood here with koa, but it has another layer inside the uke. That makes it like a drum. Think about a drum. It has very thick walls and stiff sides, and then a kind of a lighter top that is drummed on, and that produces a lot of volume. Same thing happens here in the way Bo makes his ukes. It's really clever. So there, I don't know if you can pick that. It's so loud. And that means when you're playing fingerstyle, I hardly have to put any effort in at all to get a beautiful tone coming out. This is one of my all-time favourite ukuleles. And Bo personalised the headstock for me. I live near the River Severn and I was born in Tewkesbury, which is up here. I went to university in Bristol, which is down here, and I now live in Longhope, which is about here in relation to the River Severn. So I sent Bo an OS map of the River Severn, and he copied it exactly, which I think is a really, really sweet thing to do. So this is true to the exact curves of the River Severn. And he even, if I move it in the right light, he's done like a hologram here, and in the right light it says, "Here be dragons" in Italian, and then when you move it the other way it disappears again. So it's like a really clever thing that he did. He's a little bit of a genius, Bo, when it comes to building. A narrow neck, C shape, again with the flamed, I think this one's, I can't remember of this, I think it's flame maple on this one, which is really, really pretty. Now, part of the reason I wanted to show you this one next is that it has go-to UPT tuners. Now, these tuners are really clever and I love them, and I have them on loads of my ukes because they look like a friction peg. So it doesn't have what people often refer to as those Mickey Mouse ears coming out the side. I don't mind Mickey Mouse ears, you know, the tuners coming outside. But unlike friction pegs, which were just a bit of wood or metal going through the uke and you just use the friction to turn it, these have little tiny gears in them. So it means when you're tuning a string, they hold in place really easily. Friction pegs are really finicky. I always think friction pegs are a bit like, you know, when you go in a shower and this is scorching hot and this is freezing cold. Friction pegs are a little bit like that, but these ones, they have a nice ratio. So you have to turn them a fair way before the tuning changes. So that makes them really accurate and smooth like butter. They're called go-to UPTs, ultra planetary tuners. You can get them for banjos, guitars, ukulele, and all sorts. So they're really, really easy to tune. Those are my favourite types of tuning machines. But there are lots of other types as well. Let me show you another one. Let's see. You can have traditional geared tuners like this, which can be open or closed. These have gears in as well. They do have the Mickey Mouse ears, but I don't mind it. A bit more like a guitar. But again, these ones will hold the tuning really easily and they turn really smoothly. So you very rarely encounter any problems with these at all. But you could also, like on the Martin, traditional friction pegs look similar to go-to UPTs, but it's just the friction keeping these in place. So you only have to turn them a tiny amount and the tuning goes a long way. So these ones are a bit more finicky. You have to be really, really kind of spot on with your tuning. And once they're in tune, they tend to stay in tune quite nicely, but it can be a little bit more awkward. So if you're beginning uke and you find them a bit of a hassle, maybe go toward geared tuners or UPTs. A lot of people don't realise that these screws on the back of friction pegs can be tightened. So if you ever have a friction peg on your uke and it's not holding tune, it's going out of tune quite easily, just take a screwdriver to the back of the tuner and just move it just about an eighth of a turn, and that will just tighten it up. Likewise, if the tuning pegs are too tight, you can go anti-clockwise and just loosen them just that little bit, and that will make it a little bit easier for them to turn. Yeah, absolutely. Karen's just saying, yeah, watch out for eBay scammers. It happens a lot on Facebook as well. You get scams quite often. You can do quite well buying second-hand from various places, but just be careful. There are scammers out there that will take your money reasonably easily. The thing to do, if you are going to buy second-hand, try and buy from a shop if you can. Certain shops will sell second-hand ukes and you know they're viable and trusted. Use some well-respected forums. Ukulele Underground is a great forum for buying and selling. Try and avoid places like Facebook Marketplace because there's a lot of scammers on those. If you can, try and get them to send you a photo of the ukulele with a handwritten note. So Karen, if you're going to buy a uke off someone, ask them to send a photo that says Karen and the date and hold it up in front of the uke. Then you know it's real. It's at least in their hands. I mean, they could still take your money and not send it, right? But at least you know it's a real ukulele. Sometimes they'll just pinch photos off other sites. Use PayPal if you can, and don't use friends and family when you're buying your ukes, because if you use PayPal you can get your money back if the ukulele isn't ever sent. So that's a really good one for buyer protection. So use goods and services on PayPal. If you use a credit card as well, they're more likely to refund you as well. So just things to be careful. Almost never, unless you know the person, do a bank transfer, because that's the easiest way for them to take your money and you might not get it back again. So just be careful there. Absolutely. That's it. Finally, oh cool. You got there, David. You got there. Yeah, Nikki Campbell, a PUKT. That's it. It's they're made by Kiwire, but they've what is it? Name beginning with P. They've got a different name, haven't they? But it's, yeah, fantastic. A fantastic one. Long McQuaid do setups. Yeah, they're very good. Ukulele site, absolutely fantastic as well. So, oh, that's amazing. The Nikki Campbell uke, the proceeds went to London Hospice. There you go. I told you Matt was a good guy. That's a really really nice thing to do. So yeah, go-to planetary tuners are my absolute favourite, Joe and Karen. I use them all the time. So yeah, replacing with go-to. It's not too bad a job as well. Sometimes the holes need routing out a bit deeper, but it's not too bad changing over to go-to. You'll get used to. Esther had violin tuners on her Martins, and she had them replaced with go-to. So yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, it does look like a beautiful squid, doesn't it, Shell, on my Bohannon? Bo basically didn't know what to do with the river, because at that point the river kind of curves off and bends away, so he thought he wanted to put something on the fretboard. So it's just his artistic design. It could be a river, a shower, anything like that. So yeah, it's all good. Let me show you a few more ukes then. So that was my Bohannon. Let's see. One of my favourite makers, who lives in the Forest of Dean and is a really good guy and a brilliant builder, is Phil Davidson. He started off building banjos many, many years ago, and then he got into building ukuleles. And this one's horribly out of tune. But I'll just show it you for now anyway. This is my 5-string Phil Davidson. So it's a spruce top, maple back and sides, fiddleback maple. And his wife is a very clever inlay artist, and she did this lovely logo. So this represents the river where I live, and that's the Severn Bore going through the forest, represented by the trees. Now this one has go-to UPTs on the back as well, which is really interesting. But what makes this interesting is it's a 5-string. I'll just tune it up quickly. And the reason I wanted a 5-string was twofold. First off, it creates a really jangly, bright tone, which I love. And I specifically asked for the high G to be put on the outside. So it has a high G here and then a low G here. And Phil worked out a clever way using notches to get them both into the same hole. So that means when it strums, it has a really big, lush tone, almost like a guitar. Which is super nice. So if you want a real full sounding ukulele, have a look for a 5-string. It has both the low G and the high G. The reason I wanted the low G on there was sometimes when I'm playing banjo tunes, kind of just trying to think. Yeah, that one there. After that note in that's Cripple Creek, I need this low G note. And I can get the low note by picking upwards. But when I'm doing claw hammer and I want that bum ditty, I really like the thumb on the bum ditty to be the high note. And I can get that by playing a string downwards. So it has that depth on the down strums of the low G, but when I do my ditty, it has that high note. So I got this one made specifically. In fact, I think it says for Matt Stead in the sound hole. There we go. So, and you can see it's got little dents and dings because I play the heck out of this one. Love this uke to bits. This is one of those ones I would never smell. Never sell. Talking about smell, seeing as we're enabling each other's UAS, does anyone sniff their sound holes when the ukuleles come? You wouldn't kind of expect to hear that in a normal day, would you? Sniffing sound holes. I love to smell ukuleles. The smell of fresh lacquer, freshly milled wood is really, really lovely. Phil Davidson's ukes, I don't know if it's the wood naturally or the lacquer he uses, but they always smell so good. Martin ukes always have that Martin smell as well, particularly ones made in Nazareth, which is super nice. So I hold my hand up. I'm a sound hole sniffer. There we go. Trevor did go-tos as well. It seems to be the order of the day today, doesn't it? So Phil Davidson and Matt are the reason. Yeah. I really want Phil to build me a mandolin, Esther. I've been playing a lot of mandolin recently, but gosh, Phil's mandolins are very expensive, and rightly so, because he hand carves them. Takes a lot of work to hand carve a mandolin, so they're very expensive. But maybe I'll get one. Order a 5-string hive. Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Wow, that would be amazing. That would be brilliant. And you're all sniffers as well, so that's good. Fantastic. My favourite for sniffing are hives, Phil Davidsons and Martins. They all smell nice. There we go. Right, let's do a couple more ukes and then I'll do another question in a second. See what else we've got. So this next one was really special. So But there's a maker in Hawaii called Chuck Moore, and he's kind of thought of a little bit like Stradivarius of the ukulele world. He's generally regarded as the best builder, and he does these gorgeous inlays. Every Chuck uke just sounds absolutely beautiful. They're called More Better is his kind of brand name. And he had this ukulele, and he uses this on the front page of his website. And so I kind of lusted after it for years. And I saw a video of Sarah Maisel and Craig Chi playing it. And this is a solid koa, all solid koa, this one, made in Hawaii. And it has this really interesting kind of lower bout is smaller than the upper bout. And it makes the soundboard bigger, so you get a bigger sound, but it sits really beautifully in the lap. And More Better, he's famous for all his intricate inlays. It's a little bit saucy, this one, but that's all hand carved and hand inlaid by Scrimshaw. So he uses different pearl and shell and different coloured stones to inlay. And even the little hibiscus flower on the dress and the little strands, none of that is painted. That's actually different hand inlays. It's so clever. And he's used carbon fibre to put these palm trees on the middle, little seagulls here as well, and a little beach scene here. And Chuck Moore, he even radiuses the top of his uke so they're curved like this. And what that does is it makes them really strong. He doesn't have to use so much bracing, and super light. It also has a carbon fibre plate under the bridge rather than a thicker wood one. So this one just has such a warm, gentle tone. So it's kind of nice for that kind of sort of kind of Hawaiian playing, that sort of. I've forgotten how to play today. That kind of really gentle Hawaiian playing, things like White Sandy Beach. So on and so forth. Very mellow and beautiful. And Chuck's a really, really lovely person as well. I really kind of felt like I connected with him when we were discussing his building and everything. And his wife Bonnie, she learned. Oh, look, it's got a palm tree sound hole as well. She learns. She's really got into Hawaiian culture, and she does a lot of hula dancing and things like that. There's just such a lovely couple. So Chuck Moore's one of my favourite builders of all time. And I'd seen this ukulele built in Hawaii, and I never thought it would ever come up. And then I had a phone call from a guy who was selling a load of ukes near London, and said that he had some nice ones, so it would be worth my while coming across and seeing them if I'd like to sell any of them in the shop. And he had like such beautiful ukes. There were, I think there might have been a Bohannon, there was John Kinnard, all sorts. And then there was this More Better. And the moment I played it, I just absolutely fell in love with it. I just had to have it. Normally I wouldn't be able to afford something like that, but I paid him in instalments over a course of a year to kind of to pay it off. And I love it. So that's my More Better. I absolutely love it. Now, because I like playing high G and low G, this is really kind of crazy. But I asked Chuck if I could have another uke built so that I'd have one high G and one low G. So Chuck, he builds them, and he tends to either send them to the ukulele site where they get auctioned off, or he'll just have a big mailing list, and if you're on the mailing list for so long, he allows people to basically first come, first serve on his ukes. But we really connected, and he really wanted me to have a koa one to match high G. So when he made this one, he gave me the heads up before so that I could buy it. And this is my second More Better. It's not as kind of blingy as the other one, but sorry, I got cases everywhere. it's got that lovely colour again. This one's got the sap stripe going down, which is really lovely. And then it's got the palm trees on the headstocks to kind of match the other one, which I love. And this one has go-to UPTs on as well, which are nice. This one has that lovely kind of gentle, shallow C shape. Again, kind of really nice, kind of lush, gentle tones, which I really love. Now this one is strung with something called ukulele strings. They were made by a guy called Joel from the ukulele site, the guy who does all their setups. And I've got a question here from Debbie Howard Graham, which I'm just going to bring in, see if I can bring it over. There we go, and I'll see if I can bring this on screen. It hasn't done the whole thing, but what strings do you favour? I've tried Worth Brown on my tenors and I'm finding them a bit loose in tension. Do a lot of finger picking and riffs, and sometimes the string comes off the neck. That's where you might be bending a string and it will actually bend past the neck and come off, which can be quite awkward. So I generally use fluorocarbon strings. There are 3 different main string types. You've got nylons. Those were the traditional strings used in the early 20th century, made out of nylon. Quite a thick string. They have a really warm sound when you finger pick them, but quite brittle when you strum them. And they're favoured by a lot of artists like Jake Shimabukuro and a lot of the Hawaiian players. So that's nylon. The only trouble with nylon is it takes them quite a while to stably stay in tune. They quite often go out of tune. They're quite temperature sensitive as well. And I find them a little bit thick. Then you've got fluorocarbons, which actually was developed from fishing line in Japan. It's the same material. It's a very dense man-made material. I love fluorocarbons because they're a little bit thinner, which feels really, really nice under the fingers. They're a bit higher tension than a lot of strings, and they have a lot of sustain. So when you play a note high up, it really sustains, which is lovely. So I tend to go towards fluorocarbons. Now, if you want a low tension fluorocarbon, something like Worth Clear Lights are very, very nice. Debbie, because you're after a higher tension, Living Water strings. They're a type of fluorocarbon made by a guy called Ken Middleton in the UK, and he sells them both in the UK. You can get them in America from Uke Republic. And his strings naturally tend to be a little bit harder and higher tension, so that would be a really good one if you want that sustain for finger picking. And they're less likely to come away from the fretboard as well, so a high tension one. These are also high tensions. These are high tension ukulele pink. They've got a very slight pink sheen to them. I don't know if you can see that in the light. What I love about these is even though they're fluorocarbon, they have a slightly softer feel under your nails, almost like nylon. So they almost have the lovely gentle feel of nylon, but they have the strength and tuning stability of fluorocarbons, which I really love. Ukulele pinks, high tension. The only thing is with them, and every string has a positive and a minus, some ukulele just seem like the best things in the world. I put them on, and just like on these Small Better, they just sound so soft and gentle and warm, and they just sound lush. I love them. On other ukes that I've put them on, they go completely dead, and I have no idea why. So ukuleles, some ukes, they're the best strings in the world, and some ukes they sound dead. So you really need to do a bit of testing out really, and seeing what works on different ukes for you. And I think that's really important. Remember, strings, I know they're not cheap, but they're only sort of £7 or £8 a set. So I think it's worth maybe just trying a few different strings when you're starting out, and find the ones that work for you. Find the ones that feel best for you, and experiment. The other type of strings are aquillas, which are a synthetic nail gut. So they're made to replicate the old time gut ukulele strings that you used to have on old Martins and things like that. They're a very strident sounding string. If you've got a uke which sounds quite quiet, if you put Aquillas on them, they give it a massive punch. And for many, many years, Aquillas were like the standard strings on all ukuleles. They were like the industry standard. They're fantastic strings, Aquillas, but the only thing is, I kind of feel like they make all ukes sound the same. They're so distinctive sounding that there's not much different between the ukes, whereas I find fluorocarbons, they're a bit more neutral. So if you have lots of different types of ukes and different makers, you hear all the differences in the woods and things, which I think is a really nice thing to do. Let's bring another question on in. This one's from Karen Morrow. Karen, our very own Karen, who's just talking here. And living waters aren't available in Canada. Yeah, next time you come to the UK, Karen, I'll order some in for you here if you want, and you can take them back in your suitcase. That'll be absolutely fine, not a problem at all. So Karen's asked, several uke teachers have their own signature ukuleles for sale. Cynthia Lynn Ohana, Sammy Turton, Peter Moss and Elise Eklund Flight, Taimane, Enya, Mandy Harvey, Carla, Billie Eilish, Fender, etc. I know that in the past you had your own line of ukuleles, a Forest brand. What was your experience? If you were to go down that road again, which company would you choose to make them and how would you market them? Sell them yourself or from a trusted ukulele store? What size would it be and what specs would you prefer? Whoa, that is a massive question, Karen, in a good way. So, first of all, I've never been asked, and it would be nice. I'm not gonna lie. I would be, you know, I'd be chuffed to bits to be asked to have a special uke made by a certain brand. I guess I just don't have the profile. I don't know. No one's ever asked me anyway, so I had to do my own with Forest ukuleles. The only thing that would worry me would be, I love my ukes so much and I really like to support custom builders. Custom ukuleles cost a lot of money and a lot of people, rightly so, they're not accessible to everyone and a lot of people never approach them for that reason. But having been really good friends with a few custom builders, they're not millionaires, they're not making money out of them. It takes months to make a good ukulele properly, and it takes materials, but more than anything it takes expertise, training, and it takes work. It's really hard. I built my own ukulele. I'll show it you now actually, because that'll be another one down to show you. I made my own ukulele with Phil Davidson in the Forest. And I was gonna kind of get into uke building, but it took me a year to build. This is my Forest ukulele, I called it. It's got an oak leaf bridge which I hand carved, and it's got a beach scene from Hawaii which I came up with. This one's spruce top, mahogany back and sides. Very loud ukulele, this one. Very thin top, I did it as thin as I could. Mahogany back and sides. And it took a long time and a lot of effort, and I realised how much work Phil puts into them. So custom ukuleles, they're expensive for a reason. They cost a lot of time and money. So I really like to support these builders as much as possible, either buying myself, recommending their ukuleles, and every custom uke is so different and I fall in love with them and they really mean something to me. I know it sounds really cheesy, but they really do. So I would find it really hard to say, I'm only going to play Carla ukuleles or I'm only going to play Flight ukuleles. They're great ukes, but I would find it really hard to kind of just dedicate myself to one brand and not support those luthiers and not kind of play lots of different things. So I don't know if I would ever do it. If I did do it, I'd love it to be like a bit more of an unusual brand maybe. So if it's a factory, I'd love, I don't know, one of the Hawaiians. I'd love to play Canalea or Koaloa. Kamaka would be really special because, you know, their history, they're one of the longest still going ukulele makers around. Or something like Ollie, who they're the Ukulele Site's own brand, which are I've heard are amazing. I've never played one, but my students really love them. I think if I could design my own ukulele, that's a really fun question as well. It would probably be a tenor, because I do like all the different sizes, but when I'm doing my own fingerstyle stuff, I really like the kind of the resonance that you get from a tenor. I find it works really, really well. It would probably have koa back and sides, because I love Hawaiian koa. A lot of people think of koa as a bright wood, but when you pair it with a soft top like redwood or cedar, it sounds lovely. So it would be either a spruce or a cedar top, koa back and sides, a tenor. I'd like it to have 1.5-inch nuts, so it's got lots of room at the nuts, maybe slightly smaller. And yeah, I'd go for a nice kind of resonant tone. So that would be my kind of dream ukulele if I could make it. And maybe something from the forest on it would be really nice for sure. Some great conversation about strings in the chat, by the way. Oh yeah, I've always wanted to try one, Sheila. I'll have to give one a go. Hopefully someone will have one at the festival one year. They look wonderful. And Andrew Katsakis and the guys at Ukulele Site are such nice guys, and they do so much for the community. So they're an amazing brand. I support that all the way. Absolutely. I was trying to think what else I was gonna. Oh, I'll show you a couple more ukes just before we finish off. That's most of my collection really, and notice they're mostly tenors. I do like that sustain you get. Let me grab like one of my more betters. When you kind of play up the fretboard on a well-made tenor uke, you just get that kind of resonance that rings out. And when you play them even right up here, they still sound really beautiful. And that's my thing. I like to play when I'm not teaching ukulele, I play ukulele really softly and really gently, and it's really good for my mental health. It makes me feel relaxed. It just eases all the tension away. And you might think after 25 years of playing and teaching ukulele that I would be sick to the back teeth of ukulele. Well, I'm not. I posted recently about the magic of ukuleles, and I genuinely think there is something magic in ukuleles. I find as soon as I just play a lovely nice tenor and it has soft strings, a warm voice, it's like my troubles just ease away. I find it really meditative, and I think there is magic in ukuleles. So yeah, I know I'm biased. I think they're still amazing things. New ukulele I got this year, so I'm still kind of buying ukes. The UAS hasn't completely abated yet. I met a guy called Pat McGowan at the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain. He took part in a Luthier's talk with Aaron Kine. And he's built ukuleles for James Hill and a lot of the great players. And I played one of his tenors and it just sounded amazing. It had that softness that I like to talk about, and that warmth and really open tone, which is lovely. And he had this ukulele that he'd been making for a lovely guy called Donald Boosted, who really sadly, he passed away recently after fighting an illness. And the ukulele world is a much smaller and not as good place without him. This ukulele was being built for him, and I asked Pat whether it would be okay if I could buy it in Donald's place. And it's a gorgeous uke. It's got blackwood back and sides, spruce top, but it's a tenor with a tenor scale, but a smaller body, not quite concert, sort of almost between concert and a tenor. So it still has that sustain when I play notes up here. But because it's a smaller uke, it's got the focus more of a kind of a concert. So when you're kind of when you're playing kind of that pick style, it has a nice focus. But what I really love about it is if you kind of then dig in, when you start to strum, it has that punch of a concert, which I really, really love. So it's really, really quite a cool little uke, this one. Pat names all his ukes. So this one's called Ariel. So this is my new uke for this year, Ariel, which I absolutely love to bits. And that's Pat McGowan. He's an absolutely incredible builder. I would well recommend checking out his ukes. They're absolutely fantastic. Oh, nice. Oh, I got to meet Calais when I came out. I bought a Canalea from the ukulele site, and I got to meet Calais. In fact, he was so trusting. It was like a £3,000 uke, and I wanted to try it out. And he phoned Andrew, and Andrew said, "Yeah, we know, Matt, it's fine." So he let me take it away without paying it to my hotel, like on Oahu. I was thinking, my wife was like, the ukulele world is such a trusting place. That man just let you walk out with like a £3,000 ukulele without paying anything for it. Obviously, I did like it, and I went back and I bought it, so it worked. But what lovely, trusting people. Calais is such a brilliant player and such a wonderful person. Wayne's asking how I humidify all these ukes. That's a great question as well. So I humidify in two ways. I have a hygrometer in my rooms at home and at the uke room as well, which measures the humidity. And what you want to do is you want your humidity to fall somewhere between 45 and 60%. Ideally, you want it at around 50%. And a lot of places in the UK, a lot of people think you don't have to humidify, but you should really, because solid wood can crack, it can expand, it can contract. It's not a good thing for humidity to change drastically in ukuleles, even in the UK, because if you've got central heating, it dries out your house completely. When we put the central heating on here a month ago, our humidity went from somewhere around 65% to about 35%, and I had to humidify to get it back up. So I have a humidifier that pumps out steam if the humidity gets too low. It has a little gauge on it, and when it gets too low, it automatically pumps out steam. The other thing that I do is I keep all of my solid wood ukes. I do have a few on the wall, but I keep all my solid wood ukes in cases. And you'll notice in all of my cases, I have one of these. A Bovida. You can get all sorts of brands of these. Diodario do them. All sorts of brands make them. But it's a little humidity pack. You can get all sorts of humidifiers. Oasis humidifiers are great as well. What I love about these is you don't have to worry about filling them up with water. They contain like a moist substance in a semi-permeable layer. And when your ukulele case starts getting dry, this lets moisture out. And when there's too much moisture in your ukulele case, it absorbs it. So I have at least one of these in every ukulele, and I replace them about every 6 months. They don't cost a lot if you get the multi-pack, and then you can just replace them every few months. And it just takes a little bit of, it makes me feel better more than anything, but it takes a little bit of the worry about them becoming dehumidified. This one that Pat uses kind of animal glues to glue together some of his parts, because it gives them a really nice sound. And this one's made with fish glue, and fish glue, if it becomes aged and the right humidity isn't there, it can sometimes fail. So Pat did tell me really important to keep that one humidified, which I always do. Let's just see if there's a few more questions here. Yeah, my new uke for this year. I know, Joe. I'm terrible. Honestly, it never ends. I'm almost one in, one out now, so I'm getting better. Yeah, I bet the prairies are terrible in Canada for humidity. You've got to be so careful. Let's see if there are any more questions that I missed out. So this one here, some of them I forgot to write down the name of who asked it. But this one here was asked about tone woods. How do you select a particular string type depending on the tone wood? Now, I do find tone woods affect the tone of a ukulele. I guess the clue's in the name, really. But there are lots of things that affect the tone of the ukulele. There's the size, there's the thickness of the top, there's the bracing, different builders, the lacquer that's used, gloss versus satin finish. So many things affect the tone. So I don't necessarily think about different strings for different woods. I think about different strings for different tones. So if I want a quieter, gentle kind of sound, I'll go for quite a light fluorocarbon. If you really want to warm up quite a bright sounding ukulele, something like Worth Browns are quite nice. They're quite a warm string. Logics do a great job of warming up ukuleles as well. If I find a ukulele is really, really quiet, I might even consider a brand like Aquila, which are very vibrant, punchy strings. And I have used Aquilas on some of my vintage ukes in the past because they really help pump out the sound, which can really help. So I kind of think about where the uke is, think about the sound and how I want to improve on it. Generally though, I have settled I pretty much like fluorocarbon strings. The ones that I use are Logic, which are those unusual ones which work on some and not on others, but they really work when they work. Diodario fluorocarbons are one of the warmer sounding fluorocarbons, which I love. I use Worths a lot because they're readily available. So I kind of have a think about it really. And also the string tension. Some scales are a bit longer and they can feel quite tense. So then I'll put on a lighter string like Worth Clear Lights to try and relax them. So have a think about that for sure. Rebecca was just asking, what's the list of must ask questions when buying out ukes? Oh, great question, Rebecca. So the main thing is to play a load. I would just make sure you play a load. Ask some of the important things. Ask whether it's a solid wood or a laminate. A lot of ukuleles say solid wood top, and then the woods on the back and sides, it doesn't say solid. So you're never quite sure. So ask the ukulele shop, is it definitely a solid wood back? Generally, I like a solid wood back and sides as well as the top, because a solid piece of wood vibrates more freely than a laminate one where they rub together, so you tend to get slightly higher quality woods on solid wood ukuleles. So that's something to ask. Ask about whether it has a radius fretboard. My Hive has a radius fretboard and my Bohannon, so have a think about that. Does it have a curve that matches your finger? If it's second hand, try and get as much information about how old it is, if there's been any problems. Make sure your ukulele is not B stock. Some ukuleles B stock, there's a slight blemish or something. They'll put a little black mark on the label inside, so you can just make sure. Ask them how long it's been in the shop. If a ukulele has been in the shop for 5 years and it hasn't sold, there might be a reason for it. So that's another good one to ask. But my main advice is just try as many as possible. It's the best way of doing it, really. Try as many, see what suits you, and go from there. But you can always, if you watch your favourite players, when I started out, I listened to like people like Sarah Maisel, Craig G, James Hill, Jake Shimabukuro. I'd listen to their style of playing, and if it's kind of what I was aiming towards, I'd check out what ukes they were playing and what strings and things like that. Joe's just asking, would it be possible to swap the high and low G on a non-custom 5-string? Oh, that's a tough one because it depends. If the nut slot is particularly thick for the low G string, Joe, it might make it difficult because when you put the high G in that slot, you'll find that it vibrates, so you might get some buzzing. And then the other slot for the high G might be too thin and you might have to do some alteration. if you're feeling brave, or if you have a ukulele shop or luthier that can help you, it's an easy job for a luthier, because what they can do is they can actually just fill in the nut and then recarve the slot. If you did want to have a go yourself, you can do that with a little bit of baking soda and super glue, but be super careful. Super glue's, I've had accidents with super glue. That's all I'll say. So just be really, really careful of it, because if you drop a bit on the top or something, it's really hard to get off. But yeah, what they'll do is they'll just fill that thicker slot for the low G and then refile it, and you could then file the other one down. So it is possible. That's the only thing that would be a problem, would be the nut slot. Other than that, you could change them. And of course you could experiment, try swapping them out, and if there is no buzzing, you might just get lucky. If there is no buzzing, you might be fine as well. Reema's asking about maintaining ukes in India. Climate is hot mostly throughout the year, from 20 to 35 degrees Celsius. That's a great question, Reema. And hi, by the way, good to see you on here. Now, the temperature is only ever a big problem if there's sudden drops. So the way I think about it is, if you're comfortable in your house, your uke will probably be comfortable too. If you get a massive drop in temperature, that's when you might need to think about protecting it. Try and avoid extreme temperatures. So if you're out in your car, never leave your uke in a car. It's a bit like a dog, never leaving a dog in a hot car, because it's dangerous. Sometimes in hot cars, the glue will melt underneath the bridge and the bridge will pop off. So try and avoid hot cars, and just try and keep that temperature as consistent as possible. If you can, buy yourself a good quality hard case and put one of those humidity packs in I talked about. The great thing about a hard case is that it protects your ukes from temperature extremes. So you'll find it will still get colder and hotter, but you'll find less so. It's almost like its own little microclimate in there. So if you had a sudden 10-degree drop, the uke inside wouldn't suddenly drop, because you've got the padding and the hard case to protect it. So have a think about getting a really nice hard case, and see if you can get some of those humidifiers. If you can't get a hold of a humidifier pack, you can even make your own by just getting a very small sponge, soaking it in a bit of water. Make sure the excess comes off, so you don't want it absolutely soaked through, but just dip it in a bit of water and put it in a clear sandwich bag. Just poke some little holes in that sandwich bag and just keep that in the top of your case or in the compartment. And that's like a little homemade humidifier, which is a really good thing to do as well. So always worth considering. I think, let's have a look. Is there any more questions that I've missed? There was a question about a slotted bridge and the low G being too big for the slot. And my recommendation in that case would be to try a wound low G. Wound low Gs, you still get that lovely low G, that octave low G, lower than a normal one, but because it's wound, it's thinner. So try a wound low G. You can try burning the knot and yen so it's a bit smaller and whatnot, melting it with a lighter. But I would try a wound low G, or just have a think about taking it to a luthier, just to kind of just to make it a little bit bigger. Brilliant question from Shell Fung. Thank you, Shell. About have I ever traded any ukuleles in my collection and regretted doing so? I'm going to show you a couple more ukes whilst I'm doing that. Yes, absolutely. Many. I've sold many and then instantly regretted it, sometimes regretting it over the years. The ones that come to mind, I had a Cherry Martin Soprano. It's a modern Martin made in Nazareth, made out of cherry, and it has such a lovely warm tone, and I sold it. I don't know why, I just did, and I regretted that. I had a Low Prinzi made by Augusto Low Prinzi in America. That was a Burl Walnut concert, and I sold it, bought it back from a student and sold it again, and I really miss it. It had a beautiful kind of figuring, and it had such warmth, and I think it just had a really narrow nut, and that's why I sold it, but it was such a lovely ukulele. I've always regretted that one. And the other one that instantly comes to mind, I had a concert Kamaka. It wasn't a particularly special one or anything like that, but it just had this lovely sound. And I used to tune it down half a step. So instead of being in C, it was in B flat. Still all the same chords and everything, but just played at a lower pitch. And it had such a lush tone. And it smelt like no other uke. Sound hole sniffing again. It smelt so good. And I sold that one. And again, if it ever came up in a sale, that specific one, I would buy it again. I've played other Kamakas since, and not one has sounded quite as good as that. So I've always missed that. Here's something unusual. This one's a banjo uke. Now this one you can hear, it has a real punch to it. This is, you know, I said that Aaron Kime, the luthier, makes ukuleles and he used to build for Maya Moe. Well, this was one of his banjo ukes he built for Maya Moe. It's got bird's eye maple, like my hive. Really cool headstocks Maya Moe ukes, these kind of harlequin ones, all with different woods, which I really love. This one has interesting tuners. These ones are called peg heads and they look like violin pegs, but they're actually geared tuners. So they work like a geared tuner, but they're really light and easy to use. So I love these. You kind of pull them out and then turn them and push them back in to tune. Really, really clever. And this one's been signed by James there. Look. Yukon, James Hill. This one was made by Aaron when he used to work for Maya Moe, but he builds these himself under the brand name Beansprout now, and a really great family business. Nicole helping with the singing and all their books and everything. They're really good people, the Kimes, and I urge you to buy some of their ukuleles because they're magnificent. You have to get on a build list because he's in so much under so much request, and he's having a bit of a sabbatical this winter because he's recovering from surgery. But beautiful handmade ukes. This one's got a slightly, can you see that? It's got a slightly radius fretboard. So again, it makes it comfortable for those bar chords and stuff. So this is my banjo uke. So I play this one when I want to do that kind of... that kind of claw hammer style. I love doing on my banjo uke. I can't play it in the house too often though, because our neighbours start banging on the walls because it's very, very, very loud. Now, I'm nearly there in terms of my collection. I know this has been a really long session, so I will finish off soon, guys. And thank you for staying with me. Other miscellaneous ones I've got. A little sopranino uke off Andy Miles. This is smaller than a soprano, a sopranino. I think he calls it his pixie uke. It's a bit dusty because this is one of the ukes that I have hanging on the wall all the time. I probably play this more than some of my really super expensive tenors because it's just there next to my sofa all the time and I love it. It's so cute. He makes them even smaller than this. He calls them his nano ukes and they're totally playable. You can even kind of... Hang on, let's see. Oh, it's out of tune, but... It's like a little music box, isn't it? I just love this thing so much. It's all solid woods, handmade, and they're made by a guy called Andy Miles. Andy's ukulele is made in Oxfordshire. This is his 148th one, which I really love. So that's out all the time. And then I've also got a couple of vintage ones. I'll just show you, because these aren't really my main collection. Couple of vintage ones. Here's one that's really precious to me. That I had come through the shop and I've kept it because I just absolutely love it. And this one's a Kamaka going back to the turn of the 20th century, 19th into the 20th century, really early Kamaka. You can always tell the Kamakas handmade by Samuel Kamaka at the start because the sound hole is higher up. You know, normally on a uke it'd be a bit lower down, wouldn't it? It's really high up, an unusual look. This one, believe it or not, is a concert size ukulele, special concert size, but it's actually smaller than a modern day soprano. So it shows how early ukuleles were a lot smaller than what we play now, which is really interesting. This one's got some fluorocarbons on it. This one has, notice why it's got that traditional body to the bridge, no fingerboard. The frets are just hammered directly into the neck. So it's well over 100 years old. But it still plays beautifully. It's got a real kind of gentleness to it. Well up tune, but it's enough for you to get an idea. And when you're strumming all that kind of horn, and it smells like old wood as well. And I just love that Kamaka, they're the oldest still going ukulele producer around, because Kamaka started in the early 1900s, and Martin also started making ukuleles about that time, and those are the oldest still producing manufacturers of ukuleles. But Martin took a break. There were several times, particularly after the 1960s, where uke production stopped for Martin, but Kamaka never stopped. They've always made ukuleles since the early 1900s, and they still do today, which is really, really magnificent. Rebecca's asking, any uke shop in the area of your uke cruise? Yeah, I think, Rebecca, Uke Republic is in Florida, so I think that's not far away. I'll find out exactly where, but that might be a good one to go to. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Aaron and Nicole, lovely, lovely people. They gave me a special gift when they came to the retreat, the hand sewn, the let the music you sing speak for you, and it's just really beautiful. They're gorgeous people, so yeah, really nice to support them. So yeah, fantastic. Yeah, definitely. I've also got a couple like this one. This one's my wife's ukulele, a Phil Davidson concert with a lovely red cherry top, but I'm not really meant to be playing that because that's my wife's, so that belongs to her. Two last ones which are just kind of interesting, which I thought might be worth showing. I also have two outdoor ukuleles. They're made out of a kind of carbon plastic material. It's not like carbon fibre like the cloth ones or anything like that. It's a bit of a cheaper material. But they're really fantastic. It's not as loud as a normal uke. But they're really durable. You can use them as a paddle on a boat. They're completely waterproof. And when we do our retreats and things like that, I quite often take this with me because I can just leave it on the ground outside. Even if it gets rained upon, and it has done many a time, it doesn't damage it. So I have a tenor and a soprano outdoor ukulele, and I just love their brand. They're just so cool. They come in these gorgeous boxes with these really nice logos and everything. Again, the soprano. Actually has a really decent tone for a plastic ukulele. People get really put off with plastic ukuleles because the super cheap ones, I mean the ones that you get for like 20 quid or whatever, they end up with a neck like a banana because the string tension bends it and it can just end up being almost unplayable. But those have always lasted me really well. I love my outdoor ukuleles. They're great. So, so absolutely, I hope that's kind of worked in a positive way on your UAS. And something that I want to come back with just to finish off, and I'll show you these collections that you guys have sent in to finish off as well. You can get a mainline ukulele. You could get one of these second hand for like £100, $100. Don't spend like $20 on a uke, because it will be the intonation. It will play out of tune up the fretboard and it'll be really uncomfortable unless you're really lucky. But you don't need to spend £3,000 for a nice uke. If you can and you want to support custom builders, it's a fantastic thing to do, and you have like this heirloom quality thing to keep for the rest of your life. But even though I've got some of those, I still play this uke all the time. It hangs on the wall in our lounge and it gets played probably more than most of my other ukes. The intonation is good. It's not perfect, but it's not far off. Really good, and it has a really nice tone to it with the Worth Brown's really super warm. So I didn't want you to think that you should be snobby about ukuleles. You can get a fantastic uke for a very reasonable price. Try and support the independent shops and the independent builders, because that's a really good thing to do. So yeah. Gordon, that's fine. I'll take that. Now, some of you guys have sent me your collections. Seeing as he's there, Wayne, you've not got AS quite as bad as me, but it's quite bad. This is Wayne's collection. He was just here. Some of my students have sent their collections in just for me to show. I thought it'd be a bit of fun at the end. So this is Wayne's collection. You've got some beautiful ukuleles, Wayne. I particularly love this Blackbird Farallon that you've got here. These are made out of e-coa. It's a kind of a fibre. What do they call it? E-coa, isn't it? It's almost like a fibre ukulele, a hard resin fibre ukulele. And they sound better than most wooden ukuleles. They're absolutely amazing. Is that a howlet I can see there as well? Oh, and a Kinnard. You've got some beautiful ukuleles. And Wayne's got one of my old ukuleles, because I sold Wayne my Moe, which is, I think, here, which... It's good to know. I think that's the one that you say is the uke you play the most, which I think is right, which is totally amazing. That's good to hear. Wayne's obviously a big fan of my Moe. You can see those cool headstocks there, right? Like the Harlequins, which is really cool. I think there's one more here from Wayne as well. Let's see if I can pop it up there. Oh, a nice banjolele. Very nice. Oh my gosh. And also one of the old Vita ukuleles from Roy Smeck. Look at that. The sound holes are in the shape of seals. Isn't that cool? And is that a cumuli? Is that Wayne as well? You've got some beautiful ukes. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's a couple from David Liddell here. Really nice ukes there. I think, let's have a look. I think that is... I'm not sure the brands on those, but they're gorgeous, aren't they? I think that's a spruce top and perhaps a cedar top. I think, is that right, David? Really nice. I love the rope binding. That's especially nice. And that gorgeous inlay. Is that a hibiscus or is it a lily? Really gorgeous. That might be one of Cynthia Lynn's ukes, is it? That's really fantastic. Sonka sent us in. I hope I'm saying your name right, Sonka. Sorry apologies if I've got it wrong. And there's another one of those Blackbird ukes. There's one of the ukes that I sold on and regretted. I can't think, did I sell it to you, Esther? I can't remember. I used to have a Blackbird Clara and I loved it to bits. No, I think Esther bought one independently. I love my Clara to bits, and I sold it to buy something else, and I've always regretted it. They're concert ukes. That's the one on the far left. But they have like a real woody tone, even though they're made out of this e-coa. Really warm and really ergonomic and beautiful to play. Lovely koa lower there. Koala are good people as well, and a beautiful kamaka. Kamaka, I know it's a bit of a generalization to say Japanese craftsmanship is so great, but it is so true. Kawaii ukuleles are so well made, absolutely beautiful. Oh, here we go. David's here. It's an Alvarez spruce and a snail. They're beautiful uke snails. Fantastic. Both from World of Ukes, so it'll be really nicely set up and everything. Gorgeous ukes, David. I love it. I love it. Ah, got you, Esther. Got you. Oh, man, I really regret selling mine, Esther. It's just one of those ones. Oh, you got a Farallon. That's right. So you did get a Blackbird. The Farallons are great too. Yeah, fantastic. Let's have a look. We've got a few here from Lynn. So Lynn's got Pono. Amazing ukuleles, Pono. Really great bang for your buck, those are. That's a really nice pro classic one as well. The middle one is great. This is from a band called Magic Fluke, and they have these really nice kind of pressed plastic back and sides and then wooden tops. And they have a really warm tone and they're really indestructible, so great ukes. And then another Koaloa there, which is just brilliant handmade ukes in Hawaii. Absolutely fantastic. Couple of Ohanas and a Koa Pili Koko. I've not seen one of those in years. Solid Koa ukulele there. Absolutely brilliant. We've got Chris's ukes up in Scotland here. Now we've got a Noah. I'm not sure of the middle one, excuse me. Someone will tell me, Chris himself perhaps. And on the left there, that's a Phil Davidson. Phil Davidson, I know I'm biased because I know him, but we used to sell them in the shop. And I used to get people that would come in the shop and they would say, I've got a maximum budget of so-and-so. I wouldn't mind trying some high-end ones, but I'm unlikely to ever buy one. And then they would leave with a Phil Davidson. And we've done sound tests where I'll play several ukuleles. And people who haven't been playing for years, they can spot the Davidson straight away because they have this open, warm tone. Just amazing, incredible ukes. That's a beautiful uke, and I think it's got a butterfly on the top. If you ever sell that, Chris, I want it. I don't own a ukulele with a butterfly on. Isn't that mad? I need to get one made. Absolutely. Sylvia, I think Sylvia's here, aren't you, Sylvia? Beautiful collection there. We've got a Kawaii, beautiful Japanese ukulele. Models on a vintage Martin and really thin top, beautiful. Koala, one of my favourite ukes. Koala concert ukuleles are so great. They've got so much power and so much warmth, and they're so easy to play. If you've got the money and you find some ukuleles difficult to play, Koalas are so comfortable. They have low action and jumbo frets that are really easy to press down. Brilliant ukuleles. And a Nui Nui there, absolutely fantastic, and a Rebel as well. Lovely. This is fun. This is feeding my own UAS though, which isn't good. Oh, Karen, look at that. You've gone to town. I don't even know where to start there. Absolutely amazing. That's Karen's music room there, look. So we've got, oh my goodness, we've got all sorts. See an Enya at the front there. It's a nice custom made one. My favourite, again I'm biased, is that Phil Davidson. Karen's got a beautiful Phil Davidson tenor. I sent that out to her a year or two ago, wasn't it, Karen? Beautiful ukulele. It's got Koa back and sides and a spruce top, and that's basically my favourite combination of woods. I love Koa and then a spruce top. They just have so much warmth. And I remember that one, it's really warm. And a Moonbird there from a Nui Nui. They're fantastic ukuleles. Got such a great tone. And look at this here from Linda Knight. Oh my goodness, so many beautiful ukuleles. There's an 8-string Kala. I went to see the Magnetic Fields play in London recently, and the ukulele player was playing that exact model, Linda, and it sounded absolutely beautiful. Real jangly and full, which is lush. If you're ever after an inexpensive uke, which sounds fantastic, can you see that one down the bottom, the grey one? That's a flight travel ukulele, and they're so comfortable to play and really inexpensive. I think they're only like 30 or 40 quid, and they sound absolutely fantastic. Really great ukes. Banjo ukulele, all sorts of stuff there. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that Cocobolo Linda's got. I love that. I think that's made by Louis Pilate. Hopefully I'm saying that right, in Nicaragua. makes beautiful handmade ukes out of cocobolo. Isn't that gorgeous? That sapwood is amazing. You get sapwood, like say, that's kind of like the cream colour wood that you get from the centre part of a tree. Just so beautiful, which is amazing. Oh man, you guys, honestly, you're not helping. I've got mandolin acquisition syndrome at the moment as well. I used to have a poster up in my shop, which is so right. Says, "I'm not rich. I've got so many ukuleles because I'm irresponsible." And that's so true. You should see the state of my car. I just spend it on ukuleles rather than posh cars. Oh, this is a lovely collection here as well. This is Leslie's collection. Brunswick are great ukuleles. One of my first ukuleles was a Brunswick. Had a really nice warm tone, fantastic. Look at that kind of flame maple one in the bottom left corner as well. That's gorgeous. And that's cool. That lacquer, it almost looks like a Les Paul guitar. Really cool. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. My daughter would love that pink one on the top right as well, Leslie. She'd bite your right arm off that. And then lastly, a few more from Richard here. Richard Dobney. Beautiful collection again. My goodness, I don't know who made those. Aren't they absolutely stunning? Are you there, Richard? I'd love to know who made these ukuleles because they are absolutely gorgeous. Look at that headstock. One of them's got a sailboat on. I used to be in a band called A Fine Day for Sailing, so I'd like that. That's absolutely gorgeous. I love the shape of the headstock as well, that curve. Nice pineapple. Those are lovely, Richard. Really, really nice. Fantastic. And then what have we got here? And go one more as well. Look at that sound hole. It's like beautiful leaves. Love it. Fantastic. You guys are brilliant. Love it. Karen wants Linda's kitty cat uke. Don't blame it. Karen bought 3 from me. Phil Davidson, Cordoba and Pono. Ah, they're all great ukes. All great ukes. Yeah. And I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't think I have any other vices. So it could be worse, right? Ukuleles. They're a lot better than racing cars and a lot cheaper. Karen, yeah, my kids, Sandy was really into ukes a few years back, but I've kind of not really pushed it on her because I wanted her to do her own thing. So she's got a sparkly pink Kala ukulele, which sounds like it would be like really cheap and not very nice, but actually it's really nice. It's I set it up and I kept the action really low, and it's actually got a really nice tone with Aquilas on it. So she does play occasionally, but she's learning piano at the moment. She's just doing her grades, so she's learning piano. That's her thing at the moment. Bobby doesn't really play at the moment. He's into his computer games, but I'm kind of hoping he might get into it later. Sandy's massively into Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, who else? Chapel Rowan, and Bob is really into Elton John randomly. So yeah. Oh, there you go. It's a flight travel concert, only about 50 quid. There you go. If I don't see that in your collection, Karen, before too long, I'll be very disappointed in you. Fantastic. Oh, guys, thank you for staying with me. I can't believe you've stayed to just hear me talk about ukuleles for like an hour and 2 hours. Thank you for bearing with me and listening to me talk nonsense. Well, hopefully not nonsense, but hearing me talk ukuleles has been loads of fun. I think what we'll do some more of these Q&As soon. I won't do my collection again because you've seen all that, but perhaps we could have a Q&A about kind of our ukulele playing. So hints and tips on playing, bar chords, things like that. So let's have another Q&A in the new year. I think that would be a really lovely thing to do. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Evan. It kind of feels like hanging out. I just wish you were here. I know some of you I'll see next week at the retreat, which is going to be really fantastic. Just a reminder that I'm away next week at the ukulele retreat. We've got a Christmas ukulele retreat with Will Grove White, Sam Muir and Victoria Vox. So I'll be away next week. So no Canna Capilla next week. But I'll be back the week after. On the 16th, we're going to have our first of 2 Christmas special cannicapelas. So live ukulele jams, and we're going to do loads of songs. We're going to do more songs than we normally do. I won't go into so much detail. It'll be a bit more strumming and singing, just having loads of fun and singing Christmas songs together. So first one is going to be on the 16th, and then we're going to have another Christmas special on the 23rd as well, Monday 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. So it'll be really Christmassy then, right? It'll be fantastic. I'm also going to do the video montage as well. So last year I got you guys to send me Christmas messages by video, and I edited them all together with music and whatnot, and you all got to say hello to each other. I'd love you guys to take part again. If you'd like to take part, just send me a short 30 seconds or so video. Keep them short, because obviously if they're more than a minute long and there's lots of them, it'll be a very long video. Keep them short, just a nice Merry Christmas, few chords, and send them to me at matt@theukeroom.com. You can send me a link to a Dropbox or YouTube, as long as I can download it, that's great. If you're feeling shy and you'd like to take part but not do a video, send me a picture and tell me what to put on there, and I'll put a little bit of text on your picture and we'll show that. And we're going to show those at the final Christmas special on the 23rd of December. It'll be on Facebook and YouTube as well afterwards, so you don't miss it. So come and take part. It's going to be real loads and loads of fun. Just having a people are already looking at the price and things, none of it. Fantastic. Oh, thank you guys. You guys are amazing. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks, guys. Thanks, David. Thank you. Love it. Tapestry Music has the Flight Cat uke. Ah, makes sense. Love it. Karen and Esther are encouraging each other on. Love it. A couple more things just before I head off. Just a reminder that the week after next, we're going to do Away in a Manger, chord melody finger style. That's going to be 18th of December at 3:30 for our next live lesson. There's going to be a full arrangement of it, just with the melody and as a finger style chord melody as well. And we're going to tackle Away in a Manger 2 different ways: a synchronous chord melody and then chord melody with the chords on the weak beat as well. So you'll see how it works both ways, and it really takes me back to my childhood. We're going to do the classic version of Away in a Manger. Imagine sitting on a parquet floor in a primary school singing your hearts out before Christmas. I think you're going to really enjoy that. So that's going to be next week as well. I should have Sylvia said entertaining, fun, informative. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Many worse things than collecting ukes, isn't there? And I tell you what, I know ukes are expensive, but you should see it. I've really got into mandolin, and it's like custom mandolins are like 6 to 10 grand. It's absolutely mad. So we're quite lucky in many ways, I think. Just a reminder, the Beatles on Uke course continues as well. I've just done a new video on Here, There and Everywhere, which should be ready in the next week or so. Head over to mattsteadukulele.com for that course and my 10 other courses, all available on the website. And if you want to take part in lessons, join in the community, have a whole heap of fun learning and support me in what I do, mattsteadukulele.com, £10 per month for membership, and you get access to everything, all the worksheets, hundreds of arrangements, 10 different courses, many with 30 lessons, many 45 minutes long. You know the deal. Head over and join and have loads of fun. Hopefully I'll see you all before Christmas, but in case I don't see anyone before then, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I hope Father Christmas brings you a new ukulele. I've not got one coming for Christmas, so I did have one this year, so it's not the end of the world, right? Have a wonderful Christmas. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the winter retreat, many of you the week after for our Christmas specials, and our next live lesson in 2 weeks' time. Take care, everyone. Much love, and get on those websites, buy some ukuleles. Bye.